Hello, I'm Colin Bradley. In this series of Draw It Easy, we're going to show you simple pictures that are ideal for the beginner or those just wanting to try out the pastel pencils for themselves. Hope you enjoy them. I'm going to show you how to do this beautiful cat's eye using just a few pastel pencils. Start off with the white. Now, take me a little while, so if I just show you a basic idea, and then I'll show you the rest of it in little bits, so don't use up too much video time. One thing that I will show you is just here. I want that to be darker. We've got a dark marking. Now, one of the things that I always impress people when they're following my pictures is to work in the direction of, in this case, the cat's fur or a dog's hair. Whatever you're doing, work in that direction so you get a very natural looking. You can see this already. I'm just using the white here. You see how it does look already like hair. Now we're going to lots of things to add to that. But let me just come back to this again. Now this is a marking. When you've got a marking, you want to use a darker colour. And I'm going to use this, which is 230. And start putting that in. And this is also going to be put into the fur. So let's do that as well. What we're doing is creeping up on that. And so on and so on. And I'll fill that in. And all this and around here. So let's get to this one. Now here I'm going to use a darker grey. This is 233 in Faber-Castell. Now this time, a little more careful this time. We've already set the area up around it. Now just put now we're going to use a darker colour on this in a minute, but let's just do that for the moment. Blow the dust away. Now see how good that looks. Well, it's going to look even better than that as we progress. Now I'm going to put the white in all around here, and again I will do this, show you a little bit. This is another dark marking here, and of course this is very dark. I'm going to leave the pupil, which is really the most interesting part of this, till a little bit later on. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Okay, and again remember I'm going to be putting the other colour, which is 230 in Faber. Now if you've got your own pencils, well then you just find an equivalent colour. Now that doesn't look much at the moment, but by golly, you're going to be amazed at when I finish it. So watch me as I do that. I'm going to put all the white in around here. This is another marking here, so you'll see me do that. Marking there, marking there. I'm not going to do that bit at the moment, but all of this area around here. So as I show you, I'll do little bits of this and snippets as we go along. Now that's filled most of that in. Now what I'm doing now is putting the 230, which is the lighter grey, and just started infiltrating the stronger, darker colours. This is going to be dark in here, but it's not as dark as that or that. So what we do is we put some of this in. This acts as a cushion, really, for those stronger colours I'm going to put on in a minute or two. Not there particularly. I'd leave that. I want to do the same with that. But here, I want to bring this down as well. It's quite, there's quite a strong depth between these two. This is going to be dark, that's going to be quite light. So it's not like these where you have an overspill of hair. Here it's quite sharp, and you'll see that in a minute. Now the other thing that we want to do is we want to put a light area in here. Let me show you what I mean. Slightly different now. What we're doing is putting a little bit of light on the rim of the eye. Now you'll see that in a minute come to life once we put the darker colours on. And that comes down there, and there's also some in here as well. So let's put that in like that. Right, good. Now, again, I'm dying to get to that, but we'll just leave that for the time being, because I now want to use the dark grey. Now, this is 233, what I use there, remember. So here, we're going to stroke this in to a darker colour, and we could be putting a darker colour into here. And what we're going to do is to amalgamate the two. So instead of putting it as a sharp contrast, we infiltrate. Now, not only do we do it there, but we do it here too. And you'll start to see this come to life now. Working again in the direction of the fur. Now I'm going to go all around there doing exactly the same thing. So you can follow me as I show you little snippets as we go along. But that's the idea. So we've got that colour, and this colour all working together. And that's not a million miles from being finished, this bit. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that develops. Now we're coming to the area where I want to make that darker. Now the reason I've left it, you'll see in a moment, it's rather like that, but it mixes with the light as well. So let's put that in. And now this, just a little more pressure now, still working in the same direction. We come back and forth, creating the shadow, if you like, or the dark marking on one side and then on the other. And that comes out to about there. Pastel pencils are great for this because it gives you, because you can blend colours into each other. Here I'm a little bit more fussy now about how we're going to present that. Yeah, no, that's not bad at all. begging for a darker colour now, which is what we're going to be doing next. And the next colour is 181. So those are the three we've used so far. In the order, leave the blue, that's coming. 181. Now 181 is a dark colour, and you'll see the difference that makes. Now this will make an appreciable difference, and we still want it here and there. And I'll just do this top part at the moment so you can understand what I'm doing. We've also got a lot of pastel on there, so we're actually putting it into that pastel. Now there's one area there I concentrated on, so let's just do that bit. Now I'm pressing quite hard now to establish it, and that comes in now. These light hairs are going to come right over there in a minute. Going to make the picture look fantastic at the end. You see the idea of that? Good, isn't it? Let's do another one. This one here I started off with. Start off with quite a solid colour, like that, and then bring it out. Now this here, we've got the white here. Now what we do there is we come back into it, and you get the feeling of the white coming over the top of it, but it isn't. But we can then enhance that like that. Got it? And I'm going to do that all the way down. We want some parts of that needs to be solid, and here we come out like that, and here we give the impression that the white hairs are like that, and then we can bring them and marry them up with the rest of it. Now I'm going to do all of this in the same way. I shan't be doing this area yet. That I'm leaving to the last minute, and we're going to do the eye next, and then all of this will make such a difference. So watch as you see me do this. One thing I will mention to you, I did put a little emphasis of dark here, because this particular cat has got some very interesting markings, and there's some here as well. So we can just use a little shading, really. Still working on the idea of the direction of fur. I keep going on about that, but really, folks, that is so important. Now, I've done more than I thought. You got the idea, and that will come down and then gradually diminish as we come down to there. Got it? But it's coming up, isn't it? Very well. If you wanted that a little darker, say in there, you just put just a little more pressure on it. Now, I could have used and bought a black in, which would work as well, but I just wanted to restrict the colours a little. But you'll get a very good idea from that. So I'm going to carry on with that. Now we come to the interesting bit, the actual eye itself. What I'm going to do is draw in the eye over the graphite line drawing I put in. We want to establish that quite quickly. Right, and the other thing we'll do is go, again, same idea, just go around the edge. What we don't want now is the blue to stray. So this contains it. Turn it round as you do it. It's much easier because your hand, it's a natural angle for your hand. You try doing it up the other way and you can go wrong. And just, there we are, that's great. So that's the eye. Now, inside the eye, we want the, we want the white. Now I want white, and this time, no direction fur to worry about. We've got to make it quite solid like that. Once again, I'll do a little bit, and then I'll finish it off. It's all going to look like that when I finish it, okay? All the way around, and keep, it doesn't really matter if you do touch the pupil or the dark area, but try not to, because it does affect the ultimate depth that we want to achieve here. Okay, so I'm going to, and again, you might find it easier to turn it round. This is what I would do. And you can get a much better angle to work with, like that. Okay, and we finish that off, and then we're going to start, and then we're going to use the grey on top of that, and then the blue on top of that. Now the grey. Now, why I'm doing this is because the blue that goes on now will be cushioned by this grey. You could have put it on top of the white, but it'd be a bit too bright. So by putting the grey on, conversely, you could have just used the grey and not the white, but then you don't get the brightness, which is what we're looking for really in this eye. Don't have to work quite so hard with this once you've laid the initial application of white in. I'm not going to come too far up here because we're going to be bringing these hairs back over the top. Good, so that's that. Now, the blue. This is 143 blue. It's a nice strong colour, but you've got to be really careful with this. We don't want that to be too strong. Now I'm going to do 1/2 of this and then leave that half. Well, I won't leave it. I shall do it, but you'll see it in little bits. So let me show you this first of all. Once again, I don't want to come. I've got to be careful here because if I make this solid, it's going to affect the white I'm going to be putting back on. So be mindful of that. And you notice whereas I'm using direction of fur here, I'm not here. I'm very conscious of the fact that what I want to do is make as solid a colour as I can get. But what you don't want to do now is press hard. Because if you do, you could crush paper. Got the idea? Now that's coming on very well. There's some areas, like just here for instance, it's not quite so strong, so therefore it would look nice if you just leave that little bit of blue in it, but not too strong. Just leave the impression that there's some light there as well. There's 1 or 2 other areas like that. But could you put the white back in? Yes, you can. Let me show you that. If you wanted a bit more white there, you just put it in. Or just here, put it in. But if you don't make the blue too strong, it works really well. So I'm going to be doing all of that all around there. but you'll see it in little bits. Here, this is not quite so strong, so let me just show you this little bit at the bottom. It's just really just a smidgen. All of this will look great once we get all the dark colour around there as well. That's how that looks, and then just here we've got a little bit more strength. Now, just before I leave you, that's what I'm looking for there. I want to darken that. What do I do here? I've only got these colours, haven't I? So what I'm going to use is a 181 now, up here. Again, this will go on top of the blue. 181 is a Payne's grey, therefore it will work really well with the blue. And this is going to make a difference. Once we get the hairs coming back over the top of that, that's going to look great. And you can graduate that so it doesn't come all the way down, just there. Got it? Anyway, you'll see that as I finish that off. What about that then? Well, let's start the ball rolling. Keep you in suspense. I'm going straight in with 181 here, because what we want is a really strong contrast. Like that. So you can imagine what that's going to look like when we're finished. So watch me as I finish this off. Right, that's gone on very well. Now what I'm doing is just adding a little bit more blue, a bit more concentration of blue like I did up there, just on this edge. And down the bottom, a bit of white. Put all these colours back in again. Pastel allows you to do that. And it also gives you a much smoother look, as you can see, by doing that. And let's come up here as well. I want to make it as interesting as you can, because it's a big eye. It's probably larger than actual life size here, but it gives us a really, really nice impression. That's good. And the other colour we can use is 230, which we used in here. Again, 230 is a very good blender. I use it a lot in my work. If I want to put a base colour in, colours go into it really well. You can see the difference it's making there. And all is not lost. If you want to put more blue in, you can. Want to put more white in, you can, but actually I don't want to do too much more to that. That's looking good. Just around the bottom edge, though, because we're going to have a very dark edge here, put a little bit of more white. That's going to make it look really attractive when I finish. Conversely, we're going to be using 181. I'm going to use it up there, as I showed you up there, but I'm also going to put it down here as well. Once again, it adds another little bit of interest. I don't want too much. I think probably that's enough. And then when we come up here, it becomes dark again. And here we can put pressure. When I say put pressure on, don't put pressure on the point. Use it on the side. The danger is if you could crush the paper if you're not careful, so don't want to do that. Now, if you wanted to blend that, which I think is a good idea to do, you can use a colour we've used before, or another colour you could use is 233. We haven't used it. Again, it acts the same way that the graded I was talking about. Gives you a blend. And we got them here, we might as well use them. Yeah, that looks good. Right, that looks good. Now, I'm going to use the 181 now and finish what I started here. Now, the reason I don't put any colour underneath it, because I want to give a really strong colour. And as it's going on directly onto pastel paper, it's as strong as it's going to get. Now turn that round in a minute, you're going to get quite surprised. That's fine. And now, both sides of that, I want that to be just a little less, a little more faded, should I say. There we are. Give it another. There we are, that's great. What I would normally do, I'd sharpen this up and just go down the edges. Actually, I can do that with the one I've got here. Good. It's good, isn't it? Now, what about all that? Well, now this is where we've got to be careful. If we use that like that, it's going to be too strong. So what we do here is use the 233. I do a little bit, and then I can continue with it. 233. Remember, we put white in there. Well, now the reason that's going to work well is because we can come either side of it, and we'll just leave that white in the middle. Now, I'll just do a little bit here, and then I can show you how it's going to work out. This is 181. So it's 233 and 181. And this is dark. This has got to be dark rim there. And that will go all the way around the animal. Leaving that bit of white there. Not a lot, just a bit. And that comes out. And then once you've done that, if you can, and I think it's a good idea, just to pull that out. Not too far, like I've done there. So that you get the ridge. Now that looks good. I think too, I'm inclined to do what I did up there. Just fade that into, just gives you that, just that little bit of extra detail. Like that. I'm going to go all around there and round here in the same way. All right. Just down here, incidentally, this is a little thicker. Same idea as I was showing up there, but it's a little thicker. So once again, make it quite strong. And then interfere with those whites, but don't get rid of them. And here we've got, as I said, a stronger edge. Unlike this, this is stronger. So what you do here, make sure you're nice and strong and just do, I'll show you up there. Right. So that's to come. So I'll show you a little bit of this as we go along. Well, we're almost there now. There's a little bit more work to do. Bringing this down once again, leaving some of the white. It's quite strong on this side of the dark area, but on this side it fills in more to the colours we've already done. And that's come up really well. Now we might just add a few more if you like it. There's always a lot more than you think. That's fine. And just finish that off. Subdue that white, although it's there, it's not in your face. Lovely. Now, what's next? Well, I'm going to bring some of this back in here. I'll do that in a tick, and this will come down like that. Add a little more of that. Add a little more strength to that too. Yeah, there we are. Now I'm going to sharpen that white up and bring all the hairs back over here. It won't just be the hairs, but we'll also be bringing some dark in there as well. Now we get to this stage where we can put the finishing touches to it. See what a difference that's going to make when I finish it. So it's that one is okay, that one's got to be really sharp. There we got a nice sharp white here. Now this is how I would do this. You turn the picture so that you're getting the best angle you can. What we're doing is that. This action that I'm showing you is what I use for whiskers, and particularly things like this. Turn it just a tiny bit more. Let's put the first one in. Now you've got to be brave here. You've got to put it in strong like that. Can't pussyfoot. Well, it's got to be like that. A few more. Can go right across those pupil. I don't want too many more. I think we'll stop there. Get it a little thicker. And of course it comes back as well. Like that. Gosh, look at that. Doesn't that look good? And it's no reason why you can't continue with that. Put it in. Put some more in. Once you get the idea. And that looks good, doesn't it? Let's just put the odd one in here like that. I think just always adds. That's fine. And I think we'll also add a little depth as well, here and there. One there would be nice. But don't overdo it. You can, at this stage, you can go too far if you're not careful. But I think that looks great. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. In this exercise, I'm going to show you how to do a beautiful cat's eye using pastel pencils. We're going to start by using the white. Now this is that. I've given you a little bit more here than I have there, but it's not much. Now what I'm doing now is working in the direction that I can see the strokes. And you see, as I go down, I'm changing direction slightly. Let's just rub that bit out. The graphite I got there is just a little strong. It might show through. I've got dark colours as well, so it probably won't. Now, as I come down here, you see it's changing direction slightly. This is the secret. And then we go on the other side of it. Still use the white. I'm restricting the pencils here to just those. It makes it easier you to understand. Normally I would use more. Now that's one lot. Another lot is just here. And this is again, it's white. Now once again, working in the direction that I see those hairs. Sometimes it's not easy to see it, but do your best. And I go right up close to that edge of the eye. I won't be doing the eye just yet. I like to get some of the surrounding. Right. Now that's got to the solid whites. And now what I'm going to do now is still put some more in, but this time I want to put a base colour in rather than making the strokes too strong. I'm going to put the base colour in using white. Not in that bit because it's very dark. I'm just in where we've got the lighter. And again, no, I won't do all of this on the video, but you can see what I'm doing. Again, working in the same idea, putting those strokes in, even though this is not going to be white totally. I should be adding white, and it's the same up here. Okay, so I'm going to do all of that and then come back when I've done it. I'll fill this in just a little bit more as I go along, but it does take valuable video time up, so, and unnecessary because I'm going to show you all of it. Okay, so let me finish that off and then come back and we'll put the next colour on, which is quite an exciting colour. It's that one. It's this browny, beautiful browny colour. That's all the white put in now. I'll use my finger here. But this here is really a base colour. We'll be putting colours into it, including white. A little bit in there. What I'm doing really is just putting a little bit of base in so that when I put these stronger colours in, it's weakened. I'll show you what I mean. This is the one I'm going to use now, 186. But once again, follow the same idea, using strokes that are in the direction of the pearl. Now, see, that's the first thing. Now, I'm going to carry on here because I want to do this as well. I want to get this edge here. There you go. And now this is not so much in the direction of the fur, although it still is. It's filling it up, so we've got a lot of colour to put in there, making it a bit darker. Good, that's fine now. This one here, this is grey really, but I think we can probably afford to have some of this colour in there. Lovely. Okay, same here. Now, I won't do that, but you can see what I'm doing. Again, putting the base in. And then we'll be putting lots of colours into this, working in the direction that we see the hair. Okay, so I'm going to be doing that in a second. This is slightly different. You see, this has got a grey in there. So what we do with that, we use grey. Now, I'm now thinking, which direction is the fur going in? Well, it isn't. It's going every which way. So I'm kind of doing the same kind of thing here. You can see that I'm representing this badly, I know, but we'll see in a minute how this works all out for us. And down here like that, and it stretches down. A little bit of grey in there, might as well put that in. But here you see there's some of that colour again, so come back in with a 186 and do the same thing, put that in, especially there. See that? Yeah, my dear. Right, now we've got to make some kind of headway in here. Let's start with that. You see, it's got some dark grey in it. I've also got a dark brown, so if you can't make up your mind whether it's grey or brown, put it both in. That's the brown. Well, that's a good colour to me. Now, what we want to try to do is try to imagine that that white is coming over there. So we come back in to the white, suggesting that. Got it? Now, what about here? Can't see it, can we? Well, what we do again, if we can't determine what's what, bear in mind what I'm doing isn't putting base colours in. We'll be putting detail in a little while. Now I get down to there. This is the brown, remember? This is 177, if you're keeping track of it. As we come to here, I can pick up what I think is the direction of the fur. Some here as well, grey or brown. And let's put the ochre as well. Once again, as I say, I'm really keep emphasising it to you, but these are really just base colours. That was a pink, by the way. I didn't tell you that, but I've also got a pink, which is 189. This is where this pink comes in. It's very much in evidence in this section here. So I'll put that in there. Right, now, I think what we better do now is make that just a little stronger. We're going to be putting the white on top of that in a minute. Make it just a little more punchy. Now, you can't use your finger when you get to a situation like this. So what I'm going to use is this cotton bud. Ideally, you would use a colour shaper. But if you're starting out, you don't want to go to that thing when cotton buds will work. Let me show you. I've left the dust on there because that could be put into the paper. And you see what I'm doing? It's very representative of what we've got, but it needs more detail, which is what I'm going to do in a minute. And we can also do the same thing with that. Just gradually, just gently. Don't put too much pressure on. Blend that as well. And this too. Still mindful that we're trying to bring the fur out. Okay, now I'm going to carry on with that. I'll do all of that in the same way. And then we can start in earnest, starting putting our dark colours and our light colours in. In other words, detail. That's all the base colours in. So now, as I said, we're going to put some detail in. This time, much more deliberate. And brown, 177. I'll just do this one little section, then I can carry on. Now the other thing is in here, what about in here? Well, this is where it's very dark, so draw that in. And come in from there. And that is really grey, so let's put some grey in there. This is 273 grey. You want to get as much detail as we can get in. There you go. Now, I'll finish that off in a minute, but you can see how strong that's becoming. But I've got another colour here, which is 175. Now that is a very strong colour, which means we can put some punch in with this. We look at that and you're thinking, hang on, Colin, isn't there some brown in there? Is quite right. So now we can use the 187 there, which gives us this. While it's in my hand, let's carry on with this. You can see it beginning, can't you? Lots of grey in here, so let's use the grey. All the strokes again are in the direction that we see the hair. Now this is different, isn't it? Well, how are we going to do that? What we're going to do with that is try to emulate what we see here. This time, instead of scumbling it in willy-nilly, I'll just do a little bit, but you can see how that's beginning to come up. It's much easier when you've got a pencil or a paintbrush to do this with. And I'm going to fill that up in a minute. Let's do a little bit more of this, because this is probably the more difficult. But you see that base colour I put in, you can see that coming through now. So you see how important it was. Let's just add a little more. Let's add that pink, which I can see pink in there. Same action. But isn't it a bit darker, Colin? It is indeed. So what means we've got to have a darker colour. I wouldn't use the brown, I'd use the 175 here. So what we want to do now, we're a bit more careful now, because we want to pick up that same really attractive and come into the hair as well. Don't worry about the fact that we're losing some of that. I'm going to show you in a minute how that can all be brought back. But you can see now that what I'm doing, picking that up, is pretty close, especially when I do come down here with the dark colour, which I'm going to do in a minute. Anyway, now what do we do then? Well, we use our white now. Nice sharp white. Wouldn't believe that possible, Colin, like this, folks. Now, obviously, we come down here, but we can't do that because we haven't got the iron, yeah. But when we got the iron, that's what it will do. See, no, I'm going to carry on with that. But you can see how it's beginning. Another thing we can do here, see, that's kind of shaded a bit. Well, colour shaper, or if you haven't got one of these, cotton bud, just to blend out. Now, what's happening now is we're blending some of the colour and transferring some of that colour to other areas. I'll just do this one little bit here. See that colour there? It's all on the cotton bud. And then we work our magic with our pencil again. You see how I'm holding that? Looking very good at the moment. Anyway, I'm going to carry on with that and using the same. I'll show you as much as I can of this. When we come back in here, what we've got to do is colour this as well. We can't just leave it white. And by putting those colours that we've already got on there, we can, and you imagine what that's going to look like once that dark colour goes in there. Can't wait. Anyway, I'm going to carry on. I'm going to show you little sections of this as I go along. And when I get to here, it'll be very much like that down here. So watch that and enjoy it, because it's going to take me a little while, but it's worth it. Now, this is interesting. This is another colour, 172. It's the colour I'm going to be using for the eye, and I can see it in the animal. So it'd be rather nice to include this in the fur. This is probably quite a tricky situation, but if you do it the way I showed you, a little bit at a time, working from the lighter colours into the darker colours, and then finally we can put the white back in. And I mean, it would be finally. I wouldn't, once you put this in, I wouldn't go back over it again because you're going to spoil it. But you can see that I'm actually managing to get that white in there. Doesn't have to be lily white. And I think what we'll do is we'll make it just a little darker. 175. Come back the other way. And it doesn't go everywhere. Just on the bottom here. I like corners. And if you put that, make sure that's dark in that corner. There you go. Now, a little bit more white. I should put a bit more in. Now, one thing here, you see that? How do you do that? Well, you do it with the colour. I'm using the grey. Just whittle the pencil round until it works. I'm coming down here in a minute and show you that. Well, I've started the ball rolling on that. There. And I think, you see, that's not bad. You could almost leave it like that. I'm not going to. Let's put some colour in. This is the 189, which is the pinky cone, which is quite nice. That can be added. You don't want it to be too pristine there. And then 177, the brown. Not quite so much of this, just pick your spots. But you've got to do it because it's, well, first of all, it's representative of what we're looking for there. And what I'm going to do now is use the colour shape of the cotton bud just to fudge that edge because it can be a bit sharp there. And then just pop it in every now and again because you've got it on the cotton bud, so pop it in. Oh, I think that looks really good. Finally, as once again, put just a bit of white in there to brighten it up. There you go. And I think we can put some of this white in here as well. I don't think I'm going to be returning to this. I think this is finished. But what I am doing, I'm using my 175, I'll turn this round. I want to put this in. If we're really careful, we can use this on the edge. Now, it doesn't, you see what I'm doing? I'm just fudging that a little bit, making it's not quite so strong. There we are. I think that looks lovely. So I'm almost there. I think what I'll do is I'll make this just a little darker at the top. Same colour as I used before, grey. Darker we can make, because the eye is going to be dark, you see. That's not bad. A little bit of pink in there. All the colours you've used. And a little bit of that. 186. Which does give it a rather attractive tone there. There we are. Right. We're ready for the eye, folks. How do you start off? Well, you always start off with the white and the eye. Might be an idea just to erase some of that. I don't want it to be interfering with. No, I've changed. I haven't made it that shape. Yes, you don't want it to the graphite to interfere with it. Now, what about here? Well, what do we do here? Well, because we're restricted on these colours, I'm going to put the white in first. Try to avoid putting it into the pupil because that's going to be very dark. And when you get up to there, fade it away. Right, so, and round circular movements like I'm showing you is perfect. I'm going to do that with the other side. Again, I'll just show you this again. You don't make it too strong up the top because that's going to be dark. But as it comes down, and might be an idea here just to, with your white, just make sure you've got a nice edge there, like that. Right, so we do that, and then we're going in with this next colour. I'll sharpen that up. It needs to be just a bit sharper. Right, okay, now I'm using a clean, make sure it's clean, otherwise we'll end up with peculiar colours in there. Blend it in. There we are. That's good. I would come into this area as well, even though there's not anything much on it. I think it's a good idea to marry it together. Just, we're going to make it quite dark in there. Right. Now this colour. Once again, come right up into there. Well, I'll do this half and then break off. Again, avoid that pupil because you want that to be really strong tone. And if you put these colours on it, it will make it, it will weaken it. Now there is another colour in here which I haven't got out, but I think if I do get it out, it will make quite a difference. So I'm going to break my rule instead of the 8 that we're. Oh, hang on, I've got it. Colin, I have got it out. Here it is. Look, it's because I haven't used it. You see, it made its way over there. Well, that's good news. Because that's the one I was going to find. I didn't realise it was one of the 8. Now this is also. I've got the dust on there. I'd leave that on there. Until now, then blow it away because you can't see what's going on. Now, there's also a couple of other colours in here as well. One is this one, just a touch of colour in there, just a little. And there's some grey too. Wash. I'll see if I can get away with it. If not, I'll have to sharpen it up. A little grey. particularly up here. There we've got a shadow. There's also indications in there that there's some of this pattern, which I kind of can put that in there. Bring back the yellow. This is 102, and I haven't showed you that. There's 102. Twiddle it about a bit so it makes it look attractive, and then there's a little bit of white as well, I think would be a nice idea, until you get that effect, and then I leave it alone. What about up there? Got to be darker. Well, there's only one colour we can use, and that's the 175. Now let me show you how this works. It's scary. 175 up there. I'm coming up above that area, and then pull it down. As you pull it down, ease it off, ease the pencil off the paper so you don't get it quite so strong. It can come right down to about there. I'm going to put some grey in too, more to actually blend what I've just put in. There we are. Now that is, I think, probably as good as we're going to get. Let's just blend it out. Once you blend it, you'll find that it weakens it a little. So we're going to have to go back over it again. But there is a little trick I can show you with the pastel pencil. Yeah, it's a little darker now. And the grey. What you do is you go back in with the original colour you use, which is that one. I'm going to use this one now. That goes over the top. And what that does, it brings back the tone that you originally had, but because you're sandwiched between that is the dark tones. That's clever, isn't it? Leave it alone. Now I'm going to do the other half of that I'll show you little sections of that as I do it, but that looks really good. I'm very pleased with it. And a little bit more detail in there, I think. But once this is finished, you'll see this in all its glory. There you go. Right, and we'll do that half. Now we've got to darken the area. All you do is put a bit more strength, a bit more pressure on the pencil, and again fade it so it fades into what you've already done. Same on this side, not so much on this side, it's more on that shadow area that you've got it. It's not bad here. Now, we now need to just make that just a little bit less. Like that. Couldn't really do this without something like this. Now that looks pretty good to me. I'm just going to, I use the grey, I think. Blend that just a little more so it makes more sense. There we are. Great. Right, now then, what we've got to do now is bring this down. As like I showed you before, I'm not going to overdo it. I think that is pretty good. Make sure we've got a nice, strong light. And then finally, we've got to put that in. And this is tricky because we've got to use there's only one colour we can use, that's 175. I'm going to make it slightly thicker than the reference picture. One side and then the other. Right. Now, I'm just wondering whether I can get away with that. Maybe the grey will work. What I want to do is pull the edge of that out slightly. I can't use a 175, we're too strong. Yeah, that's working all right. Now, normally I would use a black, but I can't do that because I haven't got black in the range. For you, anyway. Same there. I'll use another pencil. 273 it is. You can see that on the picture there. See how that actually works? A bit foggy at the end. And I think we can bring the white maybe back in here to sharpen that off. With a little yellow as well. There we are. Now that's pretty good. Very pleased with that. And it's come up better than I thought, to be fair. And let's just put a few more of these in. I love doing this. It's like whiskers. Might be a good idea to just put a few more hairs in. There we go. Great. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. Let's smarten everything up here so you can give you a better presentation. There are 2, 4, 6, 8 pencils, uh, rubber, and a cotton bud. Couldn't do without that. That's great. I hope you've enjoyed that. I have. It's been great fun. And I look forward to seeing you again on another one very, very soon. Bye for now. Hi, I'm Colin Bradley. I'm going to show you an eye exercise now. I'm going to start by putting the surround in here, and I'll do the first little bit here, then I'll carry on and show you little bits of that as I go along. But the main object of this, of course, is the eye itself, and but we've got to put a surround in to make that believable. So let's get going. Now, to start off with, I'm going to use the white pencil, and here, working in the direction that we see the hair lying in. That'd be a bit boring for you to watch the whole of this, so I'm just going to do a little bit of this and show you. I'm using the dark grey pastel matte paper, which is something that I've used a lot and find it very attractive, and it's going to be really nice here, as you can see already how well this reacts to it. Now, as you come down towards the eye itself, which I'm not going to do the eye, I'm just going to do the surround, we then follow that round like that. Okay, and then I'll do a little bit more of this, and then we'll move on to the next colour. Now there's a darker marking here as well, so I'm just going to cut in on that slightly, but that's where it's going to be dark, and we've got another one coming up here. All right, so let's put that one in as well. And so on and so on and so on and so on around out. So watch me do that, and I then bring in the next colour. Actually, that's going to be a grey, believe it or not. Although it's let's just do that for you. You're not going to see this very clearly because the grey pastel is virtually the same colour as the paper. So do we need to do that? Yes, we do, because this creates a foundation colour, like a base colour for the dark colour that I'm going to be putting on in a minute. So there's that. No, you can't see it because it's the grey paper. Okay, so watch me as I do that, and I'll be showing you little bits of that as I go along, and I'm going to do the whole of that area there, all right, in preparation for the eye. Now, I've got the two colours. Those are the two colours I use, the white and the darker grey. Now I'm using the light grey 270, and this gives us a little bit more fill up. There you can see the difference that that's making. And I shall carry on with that all the way through. Just come in slightly on the darker colour. We're going to put some quite strong tones on that eventually. I'll just do a little bit more of this. There you go. Again, sticking to the direction that we see the fur lying in. You see how important that is. Anyway, all the way around the same idea. And once I finish that, then we'll put some stronger tones on. Now, having put all those greys in and the white, I'm now using the colour shaper. Now, the colour shaper just pushes everything together. I've already done this. You can see the difference between this and this. I do this every time with the white work because it softens the effect that otherwise we've got rather a harsh area. Now watch me a little bit longer as I go around here. It doesn't mean to say we can't put any more on, we can. But at this stage, we want to see how it's looking. And that's looking good. This is before we put the strong tones on. There you go. I think you can see now the difference between that and this. So I finish that off, and then we're going to use the darker colours. Now the darker colours, in this case, is a brown. So I'm going to use a brown, probably that one. I think this is 177. This is not critical. This is because this is only an exercise. But we're going to get to a point where we're going to put the eye in. And that's put in before we completely finish the surround. Okay. But it's nice to have that surround in so that we can see the effect the eye is going to have. And then we can finish it off. Now we want to pretty it up a bit. So what I'm doing, I'm using this one, 187. You can see I've started the ball rolling. Let's do a little more. Same idea though, following the same pattern that we did before. And that's on top of that. Now, you remember I put that grey on there, which you can't see very clearly because it's the same colour as the paper, but what it does, it gives us a base. So on top of that, I'm putting this is 182, and that's going to gradually fade into the surround like that. Yeah. Same again. And this is in preparation for the dark colour, which I'm going to put on in a minute. Like now. And this is 177. This is going to make an appreciable difference now, but it's still not the finishing colour. I'm going to put a very dark colour on top of this. When I'm doing my cats or tigers or animals, there's usually quite a few colours I'm using. So I'm not sparing the horses with this demonstration. Got the idea? And now that I do this as well. Now this colour also comes into the rest of this. So I've already put that one, which is the 187, but I'm also now going to put some of this in, which is the 182. It's kind of repeating what I've just done in here, except now this is on the lighter fur. Okay, now that's looking good. Okay, and we need some dark colour into there as well. Now all of this will be virtually finished when I've completed this, and then we go all the way around doing the same idea. Still sticking to the same principle that we want it to be in the direction we see the fur lying in. Now, I did say I was going to use a darker colour, which I am, and that's going to be now black in here. If you'd put black on to start with, it would have been too severe, but on top of these other colours, it looks really attractive, like that. See? A bit more on here. And now I'm going to carry on with that all the way around the animal. And just so that you get a good idea of how this is going to end up, I'm going to come back in with the white pencil, which I invariably do once I've finished the fur. And you get that effect. Like that. Great. So watch me as I finish all of this off now, and I'll show you little sections of that as I go along. But it's all basically the same pencils that I just used there. And again, working in direction that we see it'd be slightly different because up here we've got a slightly stronger colour, just a little. And down here, again, we've got the same idea as that, but it will be more splintered. You'll see what I mean. Right, and now getting to the point where we can start thinking about putting the eye in. But before I do that, there's a dark edge coming from here down here, and set this up ready for the next colour, which is going to be 177. There we are. Let's just turn this round just a little so I've got a better angle. And then it splinters off. Now there's a concentration in the centre there, and that same as this area, which means I've got to use the black to intensify that, to make a lot more sense when we come to do the eye. And I think that's probably as far as I can go. I may well return to this later on. But crucial thing is the eye now. Now we're going to start off there by using the white. And the light stretches from there, like that. Okay. And the next thing I've got to do is to lighten up the inside area of the eye here. Now, it doesn't have to be very strong because we've got lots of colours to put in here, but we've got to put a base, and white is the obvious choice. Go around the light, the eye, around the pupil. I'm going to keep this as smooth as I can. Keep backtracking, making sure I've covered enough without putting pressure on. Okay, now I'm going to carry on along there. But what I want to show you next is the grey. Now, once again, you're not really going to see this clearly because grey on grey. But it's important to have that in there so that we can work the other stronger tones into that. Right. Now, at the same time, I'm also going to go around the edge of the eye here. Now, I'm just going to start this off and then I can continue with it. But it's going to be the same all the way around here. Like that. Okay, you can leave that to me. So it's just those two I'm going to be using. Now, the next colour I'm going to be using is this one, which is 102. Same idea as we did with the white. Don't press hard, just keep going until you cover as much as possible of the paper up. Gradually, as we develop more and more colours, that will fill up the paper. And I want to come right up into the edge. There. Okay, I'm going to carry on with that. And you notice that what I've done here, I put a white edge on here. It's on the original picture, so I thought I'd follow it along. Okay, so that's a white edge on the rim. So let me finish this off. Now the next colour is grey. This is 270 grey. There we are. Now that is virtually filled up the paper now. And I think what we'll do is we'll just break off and I'll blend that using the big colour shaper. Take only the dark colour away. We don't want that in the eye. There we are. Good. Great. Now we've got to add a few more colours now. I'm going to use the ochre. This is the 184. And we're going to start putting some colour in there. Now this is quite a strong colour, so you don't put too much on. Just enough to colour and have a bit of impact. It's also a very, very pretty colour. That's it. And another colour which is important is this one, 273. Now you've got to be just a little bit careful with this because it's got to be put in like that, where it gives it just a bit of design. You get an idea now of what's coming when you look at that. Good. Now let's that colour in. Now the only thing is there is some depth on the outside rim there, so let's put that in while we think of it. It's more obvious here. Good. And now the colours. Green. I've just elected to use this one, and I've got two greens. That's a bit bright, but this one will be ideal. Same idea as we did with the grey. The green can be added. And all those colours, the greys and the ochres, are all designed to give us a really attractive eye effect. And I've lost the white in there, so I'll have to put that back in a moment. That's great. Now the other green is bright. But because we've got all those other colours on there, it's not going to appear quite so stark as it would do if we didn't have that base that we're putting it into. And we're not very far away from finishing this section. A couple of little things now I can show you, which will enhance it. One is this one, which is 182. Now 182, we can add just a little bit of this on the edge of that grey, because it's going to be darkened in a minute. And there's just some little spots here and there. And I think that will do. Right, now let's put this white back again. And now 181. Now this is a little bit more critical now. We're going to put the pupil in the middle. Fill it in. And round the outside edge. But there is also some light. Let me show you where it is. Some here. It's best to do it now rather than wait until I've got the dark in. And some more there. But, and then the 181. And if I can, I want to put just a little bit of this dark on the inside there. Right. And now we come round the hull itself. Now here, it's a good idea to turn this round because you'll get a better angle to work from. And the same thing applies here. looking good, isn't it? And we go this side of that here. But now we can weaken that somewhat. Like that. And same thing on the other side. Nearly there. Once again, keep turning it. The natural angle of your hand. Great. Now, a couple of little things to finish off here. This is 283. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to go right on the very edge of this. That's good. And the other thing, this is risky, but you've got to do it. Let me show you. Come from the edge and very, very lightly filter into the light area you've got. Bet you didn't think there was so much to it, did you? Well, you come out as far as there. Now see how much difference that makes. And when we come down here, we get the same idea. You just have to keep going. Twiddle the pencil very lightly. And then that can come down. Not quite so much at the bottom. And there's no reason why you feel the way inclined to add just a little bit of the dark colour into the eye itself. I did this earlier with the grey, but you can also do it with this. And that's looking really nice. And the other thing we can do here is we can come away with the 181 and filter this into the area around it. Same here too. Now that looks really nice, doesn't it? I'm going to use brown again, the 177, because I want to just put a little more colour. And then finally, just go back over with the white, making sure you've got that nice and bright. And if you've got one of these, this is where we could use it just to smooth some of the areas in, especially that one. It's a bit bright, so I'll pull it back a little. Same with that one. There we are. There we are, one eye. Now that has come up very well, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope you have a go at it. I look forward to see you again sometime. Bye for now.